welcome to the second session of the 25 most important current affairs module that we are trying out here. In the previous video, that is part 1, I have covered some of the important topics from the list of 25, and this session is in continuation to that. And in this session, I'll make an attempt to discuss the probable questions in CLAT 2020 based on the geography and environment related topics that I have given in the 25 most important list. Let's get started. And before starting the session, I would like to remind you all the most important geography and environment related topics that I gave in that session. One is the Visakhapatnam and the Assam gas leak, and two is a draft environmental impact assessment notification which was issued by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. 3 is the Amphan and Nisarga cyclones. 4 are the hurricanes Laura and Hurricane Hanna. So these are the four most important topics that were given in that video. Now let us discuss the questions based on this. The first and most important is the Visakhapatnam as well as the Assam gas leak. You must know that a gas leak occurred at Visakhapatnam, and the first question which might be framed is, what is the name of the gas that was leaked? That is styrene gas, styrene. And where was this leak? This was leaked at the LG Polymers Center, which is at Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh. And another gas which was leaked is the natural gas. Natural gas was leaked at the Oil India Limited, which is in Assam. It is in Tinsukia district in Assam. Now, what are the probable static GK related questions which can be framed by the CLAT consortium based on these issues? The first one which they can ask is about the 1984 Bhopal gas leak. So in 1984, the Union Carbide Limited, at the Union Carbide factory, methyl isocyanate was leaked, and this was famously called as the Bhopal gas leak. This is in the year 1984. And what is similar thing occurred in 1986 in Shriram Food and Fertilizers Limited, which is in Delhi, and this is because of oleum gas leak, oleum gas leak. Now we have a very interesting case here. After 1986, when oleum gas was leaked in the Shriram Food and Fertilizers, a very famous environmental lawyer, Mr. M.C. Mehta, filed a petition in the Supreme Court of India. In M.C. Mehta versus Union of India, that is in 1987, the Supreme Court of this country has evolved a new principle, which is the absolute liability. Earlier, in the year 1868, there is this principle of strict liability. The principle of strict liability was evolved in a very famous English case, that is Rylance versus Fletcher. What is strict liability? In strict liability, if any damage is caused, the employer or the person in charge in paying compensation has some exceptions. That means the employer or the person in charge has some exceptions in paying compensation, like act of God, force majeure, or something which has done by an accident. So these are some of the exceptions which can be shown, which can be used as a defense by the employer to escape the compensation which needs to be paid to the victims of any such incident. However, in MC Mehta versus Union of India, Supreme Court said that there should be no exceptions as such. There should be no exceptions, and the company or the employer should be absolutely liable. So this is the principle of absolute liability. In India, for the environment related cases or any other related cases, absolute liability principle is to be used. So this was said in the MC Mehta versus Union of India. Why this Rylance versus Fletcher and the absolute liability principle was in the news? Because the prima facie on which the case was taken up in the NGT, that is the National Green Tribunal, was on the basis of strict liability. And other important question which might be asked, so what is the status of NGT? Is it a constitutional body, or is it a statutory body, or it is an executive body? National Green Tribunal is a statutory body. What is a statutory body? Statutory body is something that is established by an act. That means that might be an act of parliament or act of state legislative assembly or act of any other competent authority. This was established by NGT Act 2010. So these are some of the important questions with respect to the with respect to the Vishakhapatnam gas leak and also the Assam gas leak. So this is a way in which questions might be framed by the CLAT consortium. And other most important thing, and the topic which appeared in the NLAT exam also in slot 3, that is the environmental impact assessment. The draft environmental impact assessment notification was issued by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in the recent past. So this has triggered criticism. Now let us understand what are the probable questions that can be framed based on the draft environmental impact assessment notification. Question 1 which can be framed is, when under which act the central government is empowered to issue environmental impact assessment. So the act is the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. By using the powers vested in the Environmental Protection Act 1986, the central government can issue an environmental impact assessment. So you must know what is environmental impact assessment. Environment and development should go hand in hand. So this is the principle of sustainable development. When a certain developmental project is to take place, so it is definitely going to have an impact on environment, and that impact is assessed to the environmental impact assessment. Sometimes it might be normal impact, sometimes it might be severe impact. So all these are various kinds of things that are outlined in the environmental impact assessment. And recently a draft was issued, so this is just a draft and it is not the original impact assessment. And when was the first EIA issued in India? So the first EIA was issued in 1994, and when it was introduced in 1978. So these are some of the facts. And what are now, they might frame another question, that why this draft environment impact assessment notification is disputed. So there are some 3 or 4 major points or major reasons why this environmental impact assessment is disputed. So the first thing is, it has shortened the period of public consultation from to a maximum of 40 days. So what is this? When an say for example an industry is to be established in an area X. Now as per the so it will definitely have an impact on the environment. So according to the environment rules, there is something known as a public consultation. That means the local people who are residing there will be consulted, and this consultation period is limited to 40 days. So that is why it is disputed, on grounds that enough time is not given. And second disputed thing is, earlier 30 days were given for people to submit reports, but now 20 days, it was reduced to 20 days. So this is another important disputed thing. And other thing is, it increased the validity of environmental clearances. Like to build a certain project, so we need to take environmental clearances. And now the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change has increased the validity of environmental clearances. Earlier, for mining, once if a clearance is given, that was valid for 30 years. And now they have increased it to 50 years. That means till 50 years, they need not take the environmental clearance again. So this is again disputed. And for River Valley, earlier it was 10 years for River Valley projects, and now it was increased to 15 years. That means till for 15 years, they need not take the environmental clearance again. So this is also one of the disputed things. And now they might ask, what is the full name of the environmental ministry? The full name of the Union Environment Ministry is the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Who is the minister in charge for this? It is Mr. Prakash Javadekar. Even this question was asked in a different format in the sample paper 1 with respect to the Amazon forest fires issue. And third topic is tropical cyclones. So India has witnessed two major tropical cyclones in the recent past. One is the cyclone Amphan and two is the cyclone Nisagra. Now let us look at the important questions based on this. Cyclone Amphan has hit which coast? It has hit the Kolkata coast, and it also had an impact on Odisha coast as well. And where did this cyclone Nisagra hit? It has hit at the Mumbai coast. Now, as I said, as I gave a topic of hurricanes as well, these tropical cyclones and hurricanes both are same, just the names are different. So now let us look at some of the important facts that tropical cyclones are some important facts related to tropical cyclones. Like, tropical cyclones are called typhoons in the Southeast Asian Sea, Southeast Asia, that is the China Sea and also the Japan Sea. And they are called Willy Willy in the northeastern coast of Australia. And they are called as hurricanes in the Caribbean Sea. So they are called as typhoons in the Southeast Asia, that is in Japan and China Sea, and they are called as Willy Willy in the coast of Australia, and hurricanes in the Caribbean coast, in the Caribbean Sea. Now, two major hurricanes were witnessed in the recent past. They are Hurricane Hanna and Hurricane Laura. So what is this Hurricane Hanna and what is Hurricane Laura? And before that, do remember the point that both tropical cyclone and hurricane is one and the same. So you must have studied what is a tropical cyclone in class 9 and 10. Now, Hurricane Hanna, so they might frame a question. Hurricane Hanna was recently seen in the news. It has occurred in which place? It took place in Mexico. Mexico is a state in the United States of America. And other thing is Hurricane Laura, which is very recent. So that took place in Louisiana, which is in the South Central America. So Hurricane Hanna is in Mexico and Laura is in Louisiana. And they might ask another question with respect to the nomenclature of cyclones. That is how cyclones are named. Cyclones are named by the World Meteorological Organization through its various regional offices. Now I have a question to you all. Where is the headquarters of the Indian World Meteorological Organization? Drop it down in the comments below. And now they might ask another question with another some questions, like they might give in the form of match the following. These cyclones which occurred in India has hit which state? We have some major tropical cyclones in India which took place in not in the recent past but in the past. One is the Hudhud. Hudhud had affected Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Nepal, and also the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And Titli has hit the Andhra Pradesh coast and also the Orissa coast. And Fani has hit Odisha, West Bengal, and also Andhra Pradesh. And another important cyclone in the west coast is Cyclone Vayu. Cyclone Vayu has hit the Gujarat coast. So these are some of the important questions with respect to tropical cyclones. So that's all for this session. Let me know your feedback in the comment section and see you all in the next session. Bye bye.